All right, Leigh Wood, Anthony Cacace, it's certainly delivered. I watched it last night, but normally I do a review straight after the fight, but I was quite tired last night, so I went to sleep after the fight. So here we are, the morning after, and I've gone back and I've looked at it again, and it was a great fight. It was a great fight. I'll talk about the stoppage and the ending in a wee bit. I've no issues with the stoppage, by the way, just full disclosure on that one. But I'll talk about the fight. But watching both these guys at 36 years old, main evented in Nottingham, it was a great spectacle. The atmosphere in there, and it was a great fight. The atmosphere looked great in there. It's lovely to see two fighters like Anthony Cacace and Leigh Wood get their flowers. And even in defeat, I thought Leigh Wood, he certainly looked like an aged fighter in there. He looked a bit shop-worn to me. Well, a bit. He definitely looked shop-worn to me. I think the inactivity didn't help. The moving up in weight. He noticeably looked the smaller man in there. When I was doing my preview for this fight, I obviously looked at clips and I put the clips into the video and of Leigh Wood and some of his performances at 126 and some of Cacace's at 130, and the size difference just looking at those clips was apparent, and it was apparent in the ring as well. Anthony Cacace and Leigh Wood are two fighters who have become world champions, have made some good money from this sport, have brought thousands of fans into the sport, and Nottingham and Belfast, there was a great spectacle there. Sorry, there's a fly flying around. I hope he doesn't come in the shot or something like that. I just noticed it there. But both these guys really at one stage, what would you have said? Domestic level? British title would have been good enough for both. I mean no disrespect with that. I mean that was seriously, I think, the perception of both guys. I believe it was Martin J. Ward who beat Anthony Cacace many years back. And Cacace's had a run of bad luck prior to this brilliant period of his career. There were so many cards he was meant to fight on. I remember him being announced on certain cards and then it not happening. I can't remember if he fought on Fury White or if he was meant to or something, but he had a bit of bad luck, did Cacace. To go and become world champion against Joe Cordina, to defend it at Wembley Stadium, and now this Frank Warren is talking about a homecoming. He deserves it. I'd love to see him headline a show in Belfast. He deserves it. And for Leigh Wood, Leigh Wood I think was trained by Dave Coldwell, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, before he started working with Ben Davison. And Leigh Wood was losing to guys, no disrespect, like Jezza Dickens on those golden contract tournaments, which was just to kind of get a deal in place to, make something of your career. And he went from that to fighting, is it Ken Zhu? I think the guy's name was, or something like that, in fight camp, to winning a world title, to losing it, and then regaining it, to beating the likes of Josh Warrington, to beating the likes of Mauricio Lara, Michael Conlon. It's an incredible achievement for both men. And I think for me, when I see both these guys, no one really loses, if you know what I mean, because both guys are probably two of the most honest fighters you'd want to see. And to see them in the ring, getting well paid, big attendance, electric atmosphere, that was brilliant for both guys. They deserved it, absolutely. In terms of the fight, there's a lot of fallout with regards to Steve Gray's scorecard. I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I heard that he had Leigh Wood ahead. I think he had him ahead, 5 rounds to 3 or something like that. I don't know how honestly, that's just, I don't know how you do that. I mean, I really can't. I'm struggling to even come to terms. But obviously it didn't. See, this is the thing you need to remember. It would get forgotten because the right man won. And he won by stoppage. So that card is kind of just pushed to the background. But it doesn't make a difference. We still need to talk about that because that's a ridiculous scorecard to have. What fight were you watching? The only round you could really give to Leigh Wood was probably round number 4, where he actually, did have a bit of a last stand there. And maybe you could give him a share around 7, maybe. But that was it. It was apparent from the start that Cacace was in this fight, that he was coming with, I was going to say more hunger, but I'm not going to question Leigh Wood's hunger. Certainly, it was there. It was definitely there. But I just don't think the body was able to match Cacace. And you got to remember, they're both 36 years old. But Cacace has had more of a stop-start career. He's languished really in domestic level. He's been above that, we know that, but he's kind of languished there. He's had stop-start phases. Whereas Leigh Wood has fought the likes of Mauricio Lara. He's fought him twice. He's been knocked out by Mauricio Lara. He's knocked out, come back. And he's had some tough fights. Michael Conlan, that was a great fight as it was a really tough fight for him. Like, he was down in the first round very heavily, and he was also hurt very badly in round number 2, so he had to come and pull it out. He really did. And I think for that, you're looking at one 36-year-old with very few miles on the clock, and you're looking at another 36-year-old with a lot of miles on the clock, and it was apparent. And of course, the weight jump didn't help as well, and the injuries, etc. All these factors, you can't really ignore them. You got to take them into consideration. And that was why I think Leigh Wood, he looked shaky in there. I thought he was buzzed a couple of times before he ultimately succumbed to the pressure in round number 9. And every single round, again, with the exception of maybe round 4 and round 7, you could see it was Cacace and Cacace big. He was breaking Leigh Wood down. He was finding him a lot easier than Leigh was able to find Cacace. He was hurting him to the body. I felt he hurt him to the body in one of the earlier rounds as well, did Anthony Cacace to Leigh Wood. The size, the power, everything was just in Cacace's favour. And then obviously in round number 9 it told. I mean, I think it was a left hook where Leigh Wood took that. He fell into the ropes. Correct decision by the referee, ruled it a knockdown. Had the ropes not been there, they kept him up, they supported him, he would have went down. So the referee ruled that was a knockdown, correct decision. Leigh Wood tried his best to fight his way back into it, but he was hurt again to the body. The referee had a good look. Leigh Wood was able to get away from the ropes, and he actually ran across the ring, at which point Ben Davison came in with the towel. Absolutely no issues with that. Correct decision in my opinion. The towel definitely was right to be thrown in. Leigh Wood was taking damage, and for me, I think it's best to save your fighter. I'm not going to say save him for another day, because I think, I've always said this, if you want to go out with like a kind of Anthony Crawler, how he went out, he lost to Lomachenko, he had a little comeback fight, which was a nothing fight, just to kind of sail off into the sunset with a win against the no-hoper, and that was really competitive, that fight actually. But you know what I mean, if that's how you want to go out, then that's fine. You know, don't try and go out, you know, going and fighting someone even more formidable. Please don't do that. But if you want to go out with one last kind of show at Nottingham, you know, a little run out against whoever, I mean, there's no problem there. I'm sure you could probably win. But I would say it's probably best to stick a fork in Leigh Wood now at this stage. The weight jump hasn't worked. He looks old at 36. He looks an old shot fighter at 36. Whereas Cacace, Frank Warren mentioned the homecoming, which I'd be all for. I think that'd be a great thing. And obviously, hopefully he gets a big fight. You know, there's a lot of talk about maybe him going up to 135. We'll wait and see. But he even said it himself. Look, wherever he'll go, wherever the money is. So he's not, at least he's not, you know, trying to gaslight or anything and say, you know, yeah, he wants to make money. Fair enough. He's 36 years old. Fair enough. He's had a hard career, not in terms of physically, but a stop-start hard career, you know, and that's a bit of a head, you know what, for anyone. So that's my thoughts on everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will just say credit to both guys. If it is Leigh Wood's last fight, oh man, what a career you've had. Honestly, at one stage you were probably maybe pound for pound best in Britain. So it's a testament to Leigh Wood and Ben Davison. He gets a lot of flack. Ben Davison is a very, very good coach. Dave Caldwell couldn't, I think it was Dave Caldwell who trained Leigh Wood. He couldn't do that. So, you know, he couldn't bring that out of him. So a massive shout out to Ben Davison, and a very good stoppage from Ben Davison. You know, Ben Davison, again, people give him a lot of flack, right or wrong, but he looked out for his fighter there. He saw the signs, the towel came in, correct decision, 100%. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, all that good stuff. Peace.